Welcome back to the final video on building your own version of Airbnb. Now clearly we've built out the majority of core and secondary functionality that we need, but there's a couple of last things I just wanted to show you. I've added a screen here for a map search, and I've also added one to look at the user's profile, and we're going to build each of those out and take a little bit of a look at exactly how you do it. So if I scroll down here to the map search, I'm going to drag a couple of things in. First of all, if you remember earlier, we installed the Maps component from the marketplace, and that is going to use Google Maps. So if I pop down to installed, I'm going to grab the Google Map, drag it right in the middle here, and there's a few things I can set up. Now I've already set this up before, so it's got my Google Maps API key. Of course, if you don't have your API key, click here, and you can follow this, essentially this document to get it. So you go on this link, there's a bunch of stuff you need to enable, and then it will tell you how the maps work here in Adalo. However, I've already got mine, and I know I always say don't share your API key, don't let anyone see it. This one is mega easy for me to regenerate, so the minute I come off this video, I'm going to reset this API key, and the one you see right now in front of you won't work anymore, so don't worry too much about that. But there's a couple other things I need to do before we go back and configure that. So I've got this little search field over here, and I've grouped both the field and the icon together. So I'm going to copy that, I'm going to paste it, I'm going to drag it over, and just try and center it, there we go. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go in and rename that search field. I'll call that map search field, and this is going to give us our search term. By default, I'm going to make that London, which makes sense since most of the properties I've saved, if not all of them, are in London. And I'll just take this map, make it a little bit bigger. You don't have to do that, but I think it just might as well make it fit the screen, you know. And then see what it says, number of markers. I'm going to change that to multiple markers, and this is where things get very, very interesting. So I've got a marker collection that I can specify by going to apartments. So this is going to pull in markers for every apartment that's on my list. But what I want to do is add another filter and say we'll only pull in markers for cities that match this particular oops, it's not pull out the search field there for some reason. Map search field, why is it not pulling it through? Let's just see. All screens, review, now booking. Oh, here we go. So for some reason it's still specifying that field as being on the home page. I'm not 100% sure why it thinks that, because it clearly is over on the map search. But if you run into that issue, it's the first time I've seen that happening, which is why it took me a little bit by surprise there. But clearly you can fix it by just going up to home and finding your map search field. We'll see if it affects it when it's running. But essentially what I've said here is show me all the apartments which are filtered on the city field by whatever the user types in here. Now you could have them type in something that's not the city, you know, they could type in whatever you want to match any field. You could even take the three address elements of street address, city and country and combine them into one field. But I like city. To me that kind of feels closest to what Airbnb actually does. So if I come into markers, I can now configure where the markers should actually get their address from. And I'm going to use all three fields here because I want to give Google Maps the best opportunity to find what I'm looking for. So I'm just going to put each one in, I'm going to hit enter, and this will just all send through to Google nice and easily, and it should pick up the markers from there. And of course I'll hit add action, and I'll say whenever the user clicks a marker, take them to the relevant apartment. And so that should just make sure that whatever apartment we show up here, when they click it, it brings them to this screen here on the right. One last thing worth pointing out, because it's really, really cool. So you can specify various different types of map here. You've got, I quite like terrain, but you've got stuff like satellite, you've got a hybrid one as well. But if you don't like any of them and you want to customize how it looks, maybe you want to make it a dark map, or maybe you want that river to look red or something, you've got this little website here called mapstyle.withgoogle.com, and this will just let you customize the maps kind of look and feel. Dark's pretty cool, especially if you're doing a dark mode kind of app. And when you hit finish, it's going to give you this just this little text box full of code that you can copy and paste here into this JSON box here. You can paste it straight in there. Adalo will tell you a little bit more about where to learn about customizing your map as well, but you can paste it straight in there, and that will change the color and look and feel of your map when you actually load it up in the app. So really, really cool thing to keep in mind if you've got quite a distinct look and feel, this is how you can match up to it. And it does go pretty complex, although that's just a few features here and there. You can hit more options and suddenly, things get very, very interesting. So let's go ahead and see if our map search works then. So we'll load up the screen, we'll hit the map search and navigation, and of course we'll put London here, so when it loads up, we've got various different flats in London. And there you go, and of course I can click that, I can swipe to other pages, etc. So that's the map view working. And of course you can customise that. You could put extra filters in there if you wanted to search by bathrooms or something like that, the same way that you can do on the home page. However you want to customise your filter, you can absolutely do it. But in the meantime, let's go look at the last part, which is our profile page. I'll just move that up in line. I like to have things in line there. So few bits and pieces. We're just going to make a basic profile page that shows a couple of interesting facts and also has the user's reviews. So what I'm going to do is I'm first of all going to show the profile picture, and as you've seen me do before, if I set the height and the width to the same size and set the rounding to the maximum available option, which is 100 in this case, then I'm going to get a perfect circle here. I might even make that a little bit smaller actually. Let me just go and double check my edit styles. We'll maybe make that, say, 150 by 150. That might give us a little bit more space. Pull that out slightly. And then we're going to go put some text in here. So probably the first thing worth captioning would just be the user's full name, in case I've forgotten who they are. So we'll go here, we'll put logged in user, we'll put the full name. And there's a couple of cool things you can do with data here on this screen. So I could put, for example, we could say number of stays, or number of nights stayed might sound a little bit better. So I can put number of nights stayed, and then I can go in here. I can go to the stays. I can do the number of days total of the user stays, and I can hit sum. But of course, when I come in here, I need to make sure it's this particular user stays. So I can come in and I can either confirm the guest, or I can just say, well, let's match it by the full name. And you can match it whatever field you like. I'm just doing this kind of quickly, but there you go. I can match it on the full name. And so this is going to show the exact number of nights that I have stayed. And that will do that by adding up the number of days in each of my stays. You might want to add some more things just to make sure it doesn't show stays you've not actually had yet, etc. But just trying to keep it a little bit simpler here. So drag that out slightly just to make sure we get it. So we've got number of nights stayed. You could also do something like copy and paste that, drag it again. You could do something like average rating given. So average rating given. Oops, typed that wrong. Given. Average rating given. And then I'll change that. And we'll go to reviews, we'll say the rating, we'll grab the average, and again we'll filter that by, let's just say the user's username again. So we'll say if the rating guest full name is equal to the logged in user's full name. So there we go. So we can do that, and then you could probably just take over the side here, we've got this review list from before. We didn't finish that list title there. Let me just do reviews. We can probably take this list and copy that, paste that, there we go, get list 6, drag it right over here, and change the filter over to the logged in users reviews. That's just going to show all the reviews from this particular user. So again, nice and easy, we'll pull the image out of the user. And there you go, you've got a profile page fully up and running. The only bit we need to do now is pop in this little navigation bar. So drag that up and over to there. Oops, it's kind of hard to do this level of zoom. Drag that over there, and then of course we'll just specify the active tab to be the 4th tab, which is the profile. And there we go. So let's go take a look at that. See if it all shows up as planned. Pop in here, hit profile, and there you go. You've got number of nights stayed, average rating given obviously isn't showing up because I've not got any reviews, and my list would obviously show up there if I had any. I could go and leave Let's see if I've got a stay that I can go and leave a review on. I need to actually stay there. Let me just hit pending or turn that review into confirmed. Rather than go through the host and make you watch all that, I will just quickly edit it on the database. So we come in here, change that. Is it confirmed? Well, it is now. So I hit that, hit save. And then finally, when we come to preview this, I'll be able to pop in, I'll be able to go to my stay, I'll be able to, I want to go to my history. Be able to go to my history, I'll be able to leave a review, and by the way, it says there, you stayed in 13 days, that's because the history hasn't been configured to match everything up. What did you think of this apartment? I don't know. I haven't been yet. Hit submit review, and then of course if I go back to my profile, I'll have my review, I'll have my average rating given. One last little correction then that we noticed along the way, and it's funny how you always find these things when you're testing out, but if we look at the previous stays, the one difference that we haven't done there is add a filter that kind of says, is the end date of the previous stay after the current date? Because if it's not, then it's not a historical stay, we've not been yet, therefore it must stay in upcoming. And similarly, you could filter that as well, and you could say, alright, well from upcoming stays, is the end date, and you could use start date, but just to give a bit of leeway, is the start date, end date, is it after today? I've mixed up my logic there, haven't I? So we'll only show them in upcoming if the end date is after today, and a slight correction, then we'll only show them the history if it's before, so the end date is before the current time. So if it ended yesterday, then it would show up. So there you go, just a quick look at how you can correct that. But all in, we've just built a very big and complex mobile app which allows us to essentially run something like Airbnb. Clearly you can customize this to whatever kind of use case that you've got. We've built something incredibly big and complex there over the course of just a few videos, and to give you an example, this took me a couple of days of my own to kind of figure out and build, and that's with all my existing Adalo knowledge. So it is a pretty kind of complex build. There's a few little kind of bits and workarounds. There's a lot you could do to pretty it up, and as you just saw in the last few minutes, I'm sure there'll be a few bugs here and there that you can go in and you can sort pretty easily, but it's really just about taking the time to test everything out, making sure you're kind of meticulous, and just making sure that you've kind of thought of everything that can go wrong for your user. But overall, it's a pretty capable app. There's a lot of different functionality you can borrow and use elsewhere. So last thing just to mention, we are intending to do some more videos talking about how you can build Airbnb in various different no-code builders. For example, the WAM stack we'll probably have a look at, and we may also look at doing it in Glide as well. The other thing I would recommend is take a look at some of the other videos we've done with Adalo. There might be little things in there that just give you a few hints and tips about what else you could add to your build here. For example, I did mention if you wanted to make a feature where the user can save properties or apartments to go back and look at later, then you might want to take a look at the video that we did on building your own version of Twitter, because if you go in there, there's a whole thing about favouriting a tweet. You could easily take that same ability and make it favouriting an apartment or liking an apartment and adding that to a little list. So just a little tip if you want to enhance your Airbnb experience. But thank you so much for watching, thank you for coming on this journey, and I can't wait to see what you build using this video.